My grandmother, bless her superstitious heart, always warned me about Widow's Crag. Not the crumbling stone lookout itself, mind you, but the gnarled, ancient oak that clung to its precipice like a forgotten, arthritic hand. She called it the giving tree, though she never explained what it gave or what it took. I was home for the summer, bored and restless in a town where the most exciting event was the annual bake sale, with a few hours to kill, and a hiking app on my phone suggesting a scenic overlook. The crag seemed like a harmless adventure, a chance to scoff at old wives' tales. The path was overgrown, winding through dense thickets of thorn bushes and thorny brambles, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. Birds were conspicuously absent, their usual chirping replaced by an unsettling, almost reverent quiet. The descent was steeper than expected, the sun already dipping low by the time I finally crested the ridge, my legs aching, my breath ragged. And there it was, Widow's Crag. A sheer drop on one side, a weather-beaten stone structure crumbling into the earth on the other. And in the very center, impossibly clinging to the rock face, stood the giving tree. It was older than any tree I'd ever seen, its bark like petrified skin, its branches twisted into grotesque, supplicating shapes. But it wasn't the tree itself that caught my eye. It was what hung from its lowest, thickest branch, a small, intricately woven basket, the kind used for foraging or carrying berries, but clearly very old. It swayed gently in the non-existent breeze, casting a long, wavering shadow. Curiosity, that persistent, troublesome itch, compelled me forward. I approached the tree cautiously, my boots crunching on dry leaves and loose shale. The air here felt different, heavier, charged with something I couldn't quite name. A faint, almost imperceptible hum vibrated in the air, or perhaps it was just my imagination. I reached the basket, my fingers trembling slightly as I reached out to touch the woven reeds. They felt dry and brittle, like old bones. Inside, nestled on a bed of faded, dried wildflowers, was a small wooden doll. Not a child's toy, though. Its features were crudely carved, almost featureless, but there was an unmistakable intensity to its blank wooden face. Around its neck, a thin, tarnished silver chain held a tiny, smooth river stone, dark and glistening. It felt heavy in my palm, unexpectedly cold. There was no plaque, no sign explaining its presence, just this silent offering. For a moment, a prickle of unease ran down my spine. This wasn't litter, this was deliberate. My grandmother's warnings, once dismissed as quaint superstition, suddenly felt a little less absurd. I felt a strange impulse, an almost irresistible urge, to take the doll, to relieve the tree of its burden. It felt abandoned. Against my better judgment, I lifted the doll from the basket. It was lighter than the stone, surprisingly delicate in my hand. As my fingers closed around its smooth, cool wood, a faint whisper seemed to brush against my ear, like dry leaves rustling in a wind that wasn't there. The humming I'd felt earlier intensified, a low thrumming sensation that vibrated through my very bones. I told myself it was just the wind picking up, the sound of blood rushing in my ears from the hike, but the air around the tree felt colder suddenly, despite the lingering warmth of the evening sun. I shoved the doll into my backpack, feeling a strange mix of triumph and unease. I had found something secret. It was a treasure, a strange antique, a conversation piece. I wouldn't tell anyone where I'd found it. It would be my secret. My legs, still tired, suddenly felt a renewed urgency. I wanted to be gone from the crag, away from the silent, watching tree. The descent was quicker, but my sense of unease grew with every step. The whisper seemed to follow me, a constant, dry rustle just at the edge of hearing. Back in town, the familiar streets and houses offered little comfort. My own home felt oddly hollow, the silence amplified. I pulled the doll from my backpack, placing it on my bedside table. Its blank wooden face seemed to watch me, unblinking, unjudging. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak of the house, every rustle of leaves outside my window sounded amplified, sinister. I kept feeling a prickling sensation on my skin, as if something invisible were brushing past me. The whispers were clearer now, distinct words forming in my mind, though I couldn't quite make them out. They were ancient, guttural, a language I didn't know, yet somehow understood. Give back. Return what is taken. The next morning, I awoke to a strange, almost sickening odor in my room, like damp earth mixed with something sweet and sickly, like decaying fruit. The doll was still on my bedside table, but now a thin, dark stain had seeped into the wood around the river stone on its chest, like a bruise spreading. The whispers were louder now, a constant murmur in my thoughts, a pressure behind my eyes. I felt weak, drained, as if the doll was siphoning something from me. My grandmother, seeing my pallor, gave me a long, knowing look. "You went up to the crag, didn't you?" she asked, her voice low. "And you took something from the giving tree." My blood ran cold. I stammered, denying it, but her eyes held a profound sadness, not anger. "It's not a treasure chest, child," she said, shaking her head. "It's an offering, a contract, and it needs to be honored." She explained then the true meaning of the giving tree. It wasn't a place of gifts, but of balance. For generations, the families of our valley had left offerings there, small tokens, promises, sacrifices. The doll, she said, was a ward, a placeholder for someone's luck or health, or even their sorrow, left there to protect them, to pass their burden on to the land itself. When I took it, I broke the cycle. I had disrupted an ancient pact. The whispers, the drained feeling, the sickly smell, it was the land demanding its due, searching for what was taken. The river stone, she explained, was the anchor, the point of connection, and the spreading darkness on the doll was the proof that the energy was transferring from the land to me. If I didn't return it and make a proper offering in its place, the doll would consume me, drawing all my vitality, until I became the next offering, another ward for the next unfortunate soul to discover. That evening, heart pounding, I returned to Widow's Crag. The journey felt different, the forest pressing in, the air heavy with expectation. The basket was still there, empty. With trembling hands, I placed the doll back inside, its blank wooden face seeming to sigh in relief. Then, as my grandmother had instructed, I added my own offering, a small, intricately carved bird I'd made years ago, my first attempt at woodworking. It represented my creativity, my youth, my passion. As soon as my fingers released it, the air around the tree shifted. The oppressive weight lifted, the whispers receded, replaced by a profound, gentle silence. The sickly smell vanished. I felt an immediate, overwhelming sense of relief, a lightness that was almost dizzying. I left the crag quickly, not daring to look back. I haven't been back since, but sometimes, when the wind blows just right, I can almost hear the faint, dry rustle of leaves, a whisper from the giving tree, reminding me that some things are never truly given, only borrowed, and always, eventually, repaid. And I wonder sometimes if the small wooden bird still hangs there, waiting for the next curious hand to disrupt the ancient balance. Thank you for listening. If this story found you in the dark, subscribe and turn on notifications. A new tale waits every night.